Doubles and coffee. Still nothing from Faris Alrawi, Stuart Young, Vishnu Danpal, Penelope Beckles, Miss Gopal Singh, the corporate secretary, Siddiq Hussain, whoever he is. Hey, Siddiq, you're related to that boy Kazim Hussain, are you? How you get involved in this? Joel Edwards, he make a statement. Keith Eddy, the CEO of CEPEP, has made a sworn affidavit, and yet we hear silent night. Yesterday I did a video, and it went 593 shares in 23 hours, 47,000 views, and 265 comments. And out of those comments, at least 10 or 12 of those comments, people saying, yeah, Anil, but nobody go get locked up. No, they ain't go do nothing. Or they ain't go lock up nobody. Or they ain't go charge nobody. UNC only talking. Let me be pellucid. The UNC, the politicians, the executive arm of the government cannot arrest or charge anyone. That is the sole purview of the TTPS, the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. All we as politicians can do is provide information, accommodate police if they investigate, give them as much information as possible. That is the job of the TTPS. So yes, you all are correct. In many instances, when politicians should be locked up, like 143,000 cash gone into a bank and a lie signed on a declaration formed by a minister stating untruths and no charge, or when money reached from MTS into a senator of the PNM bank account and venture credit union then put it in a personal account, and venture credit union have no contract whatsoever with MTS and no police charges. Well, yes, these things happen. When an attorney general could go and sign an illegal, illegitimate indemnity and interfere with a case involving a criminal matter and usurp the authority of the DPP and no criminal charges, those things happen in Trinidad and Tobago, mainly because for decades the PNM has controlled every facet of life in Trinidad and Tobago, and they've infiltrated at many levels the independent institutions. So when you all don't understand that putting a woman who preaching the gospel of the PNM into president's house is poisoning our entire democracy and our system, because the Police Service Commission, the Teaching Service Commission, the Public Service Commission, the EBC, the Integrity Commission, all of these boards, all of these institutions, the appointments to these institutions are made by that office. So you all are correct. But what can we do as politicians? All we can do is come to you and tell you this is the truth. Ask these questions. It's then up to the police to do their job. It's up to the mass media. The mass media could put pressure, keep asking questions. Don't you find it strange that the PNM mass media, with 1.4 billion in corruption, with lies being told left, right, and center, with sworn affidavits showing that ministers brought pressure was brought to bear, that cabinet approval was not sought, that cabinet approval was not found, there was no cabinet minute, there was no cabinet note, yet a board note said that due to the agreement and the decision and the recommendation of cabinet that the contracts will be extended for CEPEP contractors for a further 3 years, despite these contracts not even expiring, despite these contracts still having time on them. Yes, these things exist. But it is not up for the UNC cabinet or the government or the prime minister or the ministers to go and charge anybody. We cannot. It is up to the police. So the police have to do their jobs. And to the mass media. And why are you so quiet? How are you hounding down Faris? Where Faris? Where Stuart Young? Where Dan Paul? Why you all finding Keith Eddy and asking him more questions? Where Joel Thomas, the chairman? Where the other board members of CEPEP PNM, because by now, if it was a UNC board, we would have known all the board members, the pictures would have been up, there would have been editorial after editorial, press conference, the media would have been camping out outside the minister's house, outside the senator's house. If it was Faris Al-Rawi, if it was UNC, that's what would have happened. But you don't find it strange? Well, okay. Well, the Douglas going to ask some questions. If the media don't want to ask it, well, you, the people on social media, all you take it and ask it. And to the police, I hope all you do all your job. It have fraud squad, it have anti-corruption bureau, it have police, it have commissioner police, it have regular police, it have constable. If all you don't find something wrong with this, well, I can't. I just doing my job. So first and foremost, let me just ask a general question to Faris Al-Rawi, Stuart Young, the former selected Prime Minister, Vishnu Dan Paul, Keith Eddy, the CEO. Just because you kind of talking the truth now, don't feel you not culpable, because you were doing, you took the basket, you believed the lies without documentation, and then you took action. You are the man who took the action. So don't think, Keith Eddy, because you talking the truth on affidavit now, that you are not culpable. Joel Edwards, chairman of the board, to the CEPEP board members, the PNM CEPEP board members, and to Ms. Gopal Singh, a lawyer, corporate secretary. Let me ask you all this. A general question first. Why? Why renew contracts that had time on them? Why renew all the contracts at one fell swoop? Why renew them on April 28 at 9:15? The last round-robin person agreed to the board members of the PNM board of CEPEP. Why? What was the urgency? What's the rationale? Was there environmental Bush crisis, that Bush was going to take over the country like a pandemic, and you had to extend those contracts till 2029 because it was so much bush and the environment needed so much cleaning that it would take 4 years to clean it up, or else our country would have gone into oblivion? Is that what was the rationale, please, in April and on the last day, on April 28, when there's an election? What was the rationale for the extension of contracts that did not require extension? We also want to know now from Stuart Richard Young. You're very quiet. Were you the Prime Minister? Are you aware of this in any form or fashion? Were you the head of cabinet? Was there any discussion with you or with the cabinet? Was a cabinet note brought to extend all of these contracts and to hire new contractors on the eve of an election? And in fact, the last round-robin call on election day, April 28, 2025. Are you aware, or were you aware of this at any time? Or was Faris Al-Rawi your minister, your cabinet minister, the Minister of Rural Development and Local Government? Was he running a rogue ship? Please, Stuart Young, you're not talking very much now. And to Faris, let me ask Faris a few questions. Do you know Mr. Keith Eddy? Do you know the former chairman of CEPEP, Joel Edwards? Did you communicate with them? Do you have their cell phones? Did you communicate with them in March, April 2025? Or was your cell phone stolen, lost, or compromised? Were you hacked? Or is your cell phone still your cell phone? And if it was stolen or lost, did you report it to the police? And please provide that report. Other than that, do you know these gentlemen? Do you send them WhatsApps? Do you have information on them? Do you communicate with the former PNM chairman of CEPEP and the CEO? Did you send them WhatsApp messages? And to you, Faris Al-Rawi, what was the rationale? Did you believe that CEPEP contractors should be extended even though there was no need, as there was still time on the contracts? Is this a fabrication on you? What is the policy? What was your policy as minister as you guided that ministry and that agency? Talk, please, Faris Al-Rawi. Furthermore, was cabinet approval sought by you? You're the line minister. Did you sign a file? Did the permanent secretary of your ministry give you a file for cabinet to consider the extension of all contracts, 348 contracts for until 2029 and then and create new contractors? Was that done? Did you sign the red file? Did a cabinet note go to the cabinet secretariat? Was there discussion? Who chaired that meeting? Was the Attorney General present? And was that meeting, were there two meetings? One where it was approved and the recommendations were approved, and then a follow-up meeting where it was confirmed? Or was it approved and confirmed in the same cabinet meeting? Then was that cabinet note and that minute sent to the Ministry of Finance? Talking about Ministry of Finance, Vishnu Danpal, you were the Minister of Finance. Did you have any discussion with former Minister Faris Al-Rawi at that time about extending contracts for CEPEP, about the priorities of your Ministry of Finance? Because the country had read an affidavit by the former Minister of Finance, Coleman, but that we were in dire straits, that our treasury was empty, that the revenue from energy had gone down so dramatically over the last 5 years, that we were in trouble, our debt to GDP ratio was high, and so on. Did you, Vishnu Danpal, in your wisdom as a finance man, as a former permanent secretary, Ministry of Finance, approve expenditure for CEPEP contractors to be renewed en masse for a further 3 years, committing the country to another $1.4 billion, while you were part and parcel of the government that told public servants 001001010? Is that what happened, or is this news to you? Because you are also very silent. What about the board members of CEPEP and the chairman, Mr. Joel Edwards? Did you read the note from CEPEP that said cabinet approved, cabinet recommended, and cabinet has agreed to the renewal of these contracts and therefore the expenditure of $1.4 billion up to 2029? Did you all read that board minute? All of you members, the board, the chairman, and all the PNM board members. But did you all not find it strange, or did you all not ask, but where's the minute? Where's the cabinet note? Where's the information? I want to read the rationale, because you all will have to also understand, why were you doing this? What was the need to renew contractors who had existing time on their contracts anyway, some up to 18 months? What was the need? What was the urgency? What was the crisis? And how come none of you asked, but where's the cabinet note? Where's the cabinet minute? How come it's not attached? And to Mr. Joel Edwards, who tried to say, well, I sent that, but that was a mistake, and then can you produce the correction, please? Because nobody seems to have it. Not Mr. Eddie, not any board member, not Al-Rawi, not the ministry. And to the Siddiq Hussein, who are you? Are you family to Kazim Hussein? What was your position at CEPEP? Why did you feel it necessary, or what authority did you have to be discussing and giving instructions and guidance to a CEO of a state enterprise? On what basis, what authority, what power were you having conversations with Mr. Keith Eddy to give him advice about the running of a state enterprise that he was chartered and charged with the responsibility so to do? Who are you, Siddiq Hussein? Because we'd really like to follow the money. Let us continue. Mr. Keith Eddy, as I said, you are not out of the water, because you are a man who was there since 2016, and you know that cabinet notes and approvals and minutes and confirmation of cabinet is not done by hearsay. Not he say, she say, or minister say, or a man flex and show your bicep and you say, ooh, look, I read the cabinet note and the tricep. You know that. So to take the word of anyone, you have shown that you are irresponsible, and you are the one who actually actioned the illegal, illegitimate expenditure and committed taxpayers to possibly $1.4 billion. The corporate secretary, Ms. Gopal Singh, you too, did you do up that board note saying that cabinet approval had been granted? On what basis, ma'am, if you did that board note to be circulated by Wrong Robin, on what basis did you do that? On hearsay? Did you go through law school? Did you go through Hugh Wooden? Are you a corporate secretary? Is that the normal practice, Ms. Gopal Singh? And finally, Penelope Beckles, what is this parlor you're running here? One man don't know what he's saying, calling race car. The next man come back from Montserrat a week and say people put him on a red notice and all kind of thing. And you just staying quiet as your entire PNM ship sinks. So ladies and gentlemen, the police will have to do their work. Media, do your work.